Amazing. Don't call it a comeback, right? We've been here for years. So even though the Batim, on in the public square may have taken a break, the chat's been blowing up for years and years and years. It's never turned off. So, but it's a delight to be back here talking Max basketball. And we've been talking it for we never stopped really. But to be able to really get back, it almost feels like 3 years ago. I don't know about you, Ariel. I'm headed out to Boston tomorrow morning because it does feel like 3 years ago. It feels like there's a game to be had, and it's not just like a consolation prize. It feels like they can play this game.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, I'm unfortunately not gonna be able to make it out to Boston. And I'm excited for you that you're able to go. But yeah, it's exciting that we're back into like this is what, ever since Zevi and Max were freshmen, like this is what we were waiting for. We knew they have like this team, like they're gonna have the talent eventually to do this. And, you know, last Sunday was I was there. It was one of the most exciting game I've ever seen. And I think we're severe underdogs, but I think like, you know, we have what it takes, I think, to do some damage.
Take me through Sunday. It's funny. We heard now for it's been going around. We heard about all these guys in their takes, right? The takes on the last shot, the takes on. What was it like as a fan? Like meaning it felt like a game. I mean, I was watching it the whole time. I wasn't in the building, so I'm really excited to see it. Hey, trading baskets, and then Zevi gets a foul, sits down, and they go on this 11-0 run to close to go up 14 at the half. What's thinking? What is the mood? The fans at that point.
The mood was like last year, I think. I was there last year as well. It was the same kind of feel like, oh no, like it happened again, like that. It just been happening all year. Like they had these like small little stretches where they just give up these leads. Here it was because, Max got hurt. Zevi was on the bench because of foul trouble. It was like I guess it happened again. They had that stretch where they struggled, and it felt a lot like last year where they were down by the same score, by the same amount, by the same margin.
And by the way, you
And
saw that. I think if I recall, I'm trying to remember the exact play, but the second Max went out, right? Santos smells blood and he takes, I think,
oh
Beza,
yeah,
whoever came
and
in,
yeah, no,
right for a 3-point play.
and
The second he goes out.
you saw, and I heard Conroy tell this team, he's like, we have 3 minutes. Let's put them away. He like said that to his team. I heard them. It was right near me. Like he said it. Like he's like, we have let's put foot on the gas. Let's like do some damage here, and they did. And it was like it was really like, come on. It was because they were playing so well before that. It was a great. They had they played really well. They got good looks. Played pretty well defensively. And then the second half starts, and it's like the same kind of like back and forth. Okay, like they did a few good plays, but then they made some big shots, and then at a certain point, it was just like they slowly started chipping away. They had some nice, Effie had some nice transition buckets. Roy had some nice shots. Obviously, Zevi's starting to like starting to see like Zevi's yeah, like 10-minute mark. Zevi's like just taking these crazy shots. He missed a couple, definitely missed a few. He airballed one, I think.
He even
But
missed some foul shots,
he missed a
among
foul.
among
Yeah, that was
which is
surprising.
even more surprising.
Right, and that was surprising, especially because. But then it was like he was feeling it, like you could tell, and like we were just getting closer and closer, and then like it just like a big nervous energy. But like once every like step we took, got more excited, and then at the end, like everyone was going crazy, and especially when he hit, the shot heard around the world now. It was insane. We were next to each other, I think, when the Ryan Gabe alley-oop. Very similar, like, just like people going absolutely nuts, running around, like just I was going nuts. I had my kids like they were like they were like, "What is Daddy do?" Like it was insane.
Was it somewhat disbelief or was it just like pure elation at that point?
But it was kind of both. It was like I can't believe this just happened. And there's like then there's like a couple minutes after the time they're like, okay, now we need to stop them because
Right, 15.
there's still
Right.
15 seconds left. Yeah, it wasn't like we're done. Like there was still time. And we're like, you know, we remember the Sarah Lawrence game this year. Like these
Yeah,
things happen. Like, these things
right. End
have
of
happened.
game has not been so kind
Right.
to the United
We've
system.
had I mean, we've had mixed like we've had I think we've played well mostly, but like we've had, those types of things where against Sarah Lawrence, against both of them, those games where or even last Farmingdale game where we made it really close, made a crazy run during the regular season, but we didn't finish the
But
job.
that
So
that last possession of Farmingdale, that was one of the best defended half court possessions YU has had all season. Meaning they really didn't give them any space. They
no, they were
stayed
good.
with them. They were really, Zevi was gritty on it. Again, the thing about, like, everybody, it's like almost like the opposite, right? Everybody in the gym knows Zevi's going to take the shot. When it comes to Farmingdale, you have a couple of options.
Right.
You can even go inside to a big, but you knew it was probably going to be Conroy Santos driving, right? You have a couple of options to notice, like you have a couple guys
Yeah,
who,
no, yeah, for
who they
sure.
trust to take that shot. So it's
They don't
tough.
have they don't have like the guy.
Exactly, it's
It's
tough to
yeah.
key in on one guy, which makes them even more dangerous. And that's why it was so impressive, the team defense, the individual defense that was played in that last round and the
And
last
they
half
got
of
the
court.
rebound, and they got the rebound too, like which was that was something that was an issue. So got the rebounds, he hit the
Huge
foul
rebound,
shots,
huge
yeah,
rebound.
huge foul shots too, because like it put a little more pressure on them, I think. And then Effie got that great steal, like that was just great defense.
Classic Effie, by the way,
Yeah,
classic Effie to finish that. And I think what's lost, not lost, because I think it came out, but as it went, but it's lost in the shot, right? I mean, the shot is the fact that Zevi had 28 points in the second half. I
yeah,
mean,
he was
it's
unbelievable.
it's unreal. I mean, like that is
I think
that's
and he was at
insane game.
Farmingdale 29, I think. Like it was 29-28 basically just hit. He
I,
was on another like that's and we'll talk about like looking forward. Like if Zevi's playing like that, like, you know, who's gonna stop us?
it's funny because he's had games, but I don't know if I've seen him that unconscious in a half or even in a game since the IWU game. Like when he first came out, like he was just really like in his zone. Right? Like he'll get it in the offense, he'll get it in the other, but like he was just in his zone, no hesitation. It was beautiful to see. And I keep iterating. I know there's been so much talk about the shot. It's funny. I
right.
sit here, disagreeing with my good friend Coach Steinmetz about it being a bad shot. Again, I still think your best player taking a good shot that you've practiced, and you could just see there's nobody up there with him. He's a foot and a half over everybody. Like whether Santos didn't want to foul or whatever it was, he had the space to take the shot. It was all him at that point, and it's a shot that he makes. And I still don't know why people are saying you want the clock to run down. It's
No,
it's
I
a
don't
one
know
it's a
because
one it's only a 2
the
point game.
longer
It's a 3 point game, maybe. I don't know, but like you're down. The clock is never your friend until you're tied or up. So you always want to give yourself more opportunities.
yeah, I think if you waited, they're gonna double him. Like
Yeah,
and Elliott said that like they're gonna if he didn't want to call it because he didn't want to call timeout so they don't set their defense. But even if you don't call timeout, they're gonna double. Like, everyone knew Zevi. They wanted Zevi to take the shot, and if he gave up the ball, he wasn't getting it back. And, like they were like you could see like even the few possessions before that they were like really zoning in on Zevi, which obviously makes perfect sense. So it was yeah I could see why people say it wasn't a good like it was off balance and it wasn't the best highest percentage shot for sure. But like
but if you
we
watch the
also
rest of the half, it was just in line
right
with
now
everything else that happened, and all season, what's happened, and they've had some. I'm thinking back to a couple of the games earlier in the season, right, where they did call timeout. They did try to get the play, and they had one where he stepped out. They had one where he, with the pass, it just had
like
some inbounds.
Farmingdale was like very similar shot he was trying to take same spot the first game in the regular season where it slipped out of his hands. Then there's the Sarah Lawrence game where the one at YU where he took the shot too early, right? Because it was a tie game. We were up by it was a tie game at that point, or we were up by two. Where he should have waited.
We
We
went
were
right.
tied.
We went up by two, and then they hit that
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
yeah. But here I hear like yeah, like you missed the shot. They were also crashing the like people were crashing the board, so we could have got the rebounds if he
You want
missed
to give
it.
yourself a chance off the board, and also
Yeah,
if you foul and they hit one, it's still a one possession game, right?
right.
So they hadn't hit their pair of free throws, I think, in the last 4 or 5 trips down,
Right.
which helped us stay in the game. But that's
Yeah. And
at
then
the end
yeah,
of
and
the
you
day.
could tell that was the thing I think the big difference was you could tell like why like art like why like Max, Zevi, Effie like they were in the zone. They were tired. I could tell they were like gassed like crazy, and especially Max was playing hurt, which is incredible because he was in a lot of pain. You could tell just from on the sidelines, but you could tell I think Farming like they had guys who were a little bit more nervous. Like they were a little bit more phased by the crowd, and I think we're the more experienced team. YU's more experienced team when I think it finally should like this is where those things come into play where that experience could help you where you could hit those foul shots, make those big plays at the big moments.
So before we pivot to obviously the big test that's in front, I, I think what's interesting as like a as a bridge to that, and I know we've chatted about this in a couple different places collectively. Um, but you said, obviously, or yeah, sorry, Zevi, Max, Effie, right? Like you get what you get out of them. Let's talk about the ore reclamation project, right? Because it seemed very early on. I was there in person a couple of games, where it seemed coach and ore we're not we're not seeing eye to eye. There are a number of games, whether it was hurt or otherwise, where he just he ended up sitting out. And then for the last good stretch, right, probably about a good almost 10 game run. I know exactly. It's been a very different or. It's been a and not from losing the passion that really is what drives him and the fans love, but like it's been a very different or in terms of viewing his role in the team. Talk a little bit about that because I think that may be the X factor or one of the X factors when we look at the matchup with Tufts before and then going into this matchup.
Yeah, no, I think he's been great. Like since he came back, he took the break. It sounded like I think people should listen to the Zevi's pod, the the
On the court,
Beyond the Court podcast where like that was a really great interview. It was really
that was
interesting. It was
awesome.
very insightful. Like, got a lot of insight to the team, and or seems like
And then he
incredible.
loves Zevi's hat, like a lot
Yeah,
of good information. It's
right,
really
exactly, right. But yeah, no, it's like or wasn't a good play. Like he came back from injury. He was not fully healthy, it seemed, and mentally, it didn't seem like he was in the best spot. Which I think people forget. Like that's a big thing. Like we think they're just like rope. Like we watch
20,
them, but like
21, 22-year-old kids like what I'm not
yeah.
I'm 45, I'm not in a good spot many
Right,
times.
exactly. Yeah, so it's like it makes sense, and he wasn't playing well, and it affected him on the court, and it seemed like it affected the team. Um, so I guess it was his idea to take the break, and they let him back, and it seemed like that did wonders for him because he's been really great, like just like more disciplined, like obviously like b before he was very turnover prone.
Very.
He still has stuff like it's not he's gonna make try to make plays, and sometimes it's not always the best, but like he's like taking making a lot better decisions, passing for like being a great because he's a great passer, like that he always was. Like he makes some great passes, taking good shots, and then rebounding. I think that's been his biggest. Like he's been a really good, strong
He's been
rebounder.
so big on the defensive boards,
And yeah,
offensive boards as well, but defensive boards and also defensive presence. He's had a lot of, again, against regular size and even a little bigger, even blocks, right? He's great around the
yeah,
basket,
he's disruptive. I think in the beginning of the season he was disruptive.
strong hands.
He's disruptive. Like he's just make a steal. But like he's always been disruptive. Beginning of the year it was also disruptive on offense,
Oh,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Like that was part of the issue. But like I think now it's just like he's channeling it the right way. And I think when he's on it's another level of what they could bring
And
that
you
he
see the
brings.
team responds to him, which is also beautiful, right? The team, I think you said this all along, even when we were seeing those things, it's like, it's great, but like, it's really hard to win if you're counting on 50 every single night for Max and Zevi. It's hard. It's hard. And I think you need a third scorer, first of all. You need somebody you can count on when you go through some rough stretches, somebody who can make the defense keep them honest. So I think Orr plays that role. I think the other emergence that we've seen, and I keep being incredibly impressed, especially even at the foul line, with Yoav.
Yeah.
Osaka has been unbelievable. I think really like a bright spot to where you come into the season. It's funny. It's interesting. It's like 3 years ago when we had sort of the when did we have the Armstrong, like the switch in terms of centers and sort of
That was Ryan's last. Yeah. So
Brian's last year, and then someone came off the bench, right? Like you had that thing happen, and
Armstrong, Zucker. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you sort of found like you found a better role for both of them, and I think that's a little bit of what's happening with Luke and Osaka a little bit, which is
And
a
Dotan.
little bit
Yeah.
a little bit of that being comfortable with the role, right? And I think that's good for it's been good for Luke, who has I think needed more time to get his sea legs for the season for this kind of ball, which leads me to my number one factor, because I think the biggest thing that going into this game, I just want to see sort of how you remember it and what you think, right? What do you think is going through? Hopefully everybody's sleeping by now, getting a good night's rest. But the level of intensity in that D1 game, it was 10 times or more than the championship game, not just that year, but again, even the contested games. And I think that's the thing. None of these guys, right? That nobody was there, right? So none of these guys have experienced the D1 tournament at that level of intensity. So I think that's one of the things. And right, none of those guys except for one, right? So except for right, didn't Max cut down the nets at Bryant?
Max was in the D1 tournament. Yeah, he
He,
was.
he, he saw it happen, and I think the funny thing is that's what I remember, right? I remember Lasco is the only one matching the intensity and bringing it when it came feeling comfortable and matching that intensity. Even Ryan was a little bit shell shocked at the beginning of that game and from an intensity level. What are your expectations coming out, right? And sort of how coach and the coaches staff gets them ready for this game and the level of play.
I think they're gonna be ready. Like, I don't think they're gonna be phased. I think the last two games will be a big help because, like, those are intense games. Like, those were intense games between Sarah Lawrence and Farmingdale. I think I think there's less pressure on them. Like, they're big underdogs. Like, the computers are saying like 20 points they're giving them. Tufts is a top five team, 16, whatever, and we're 100 something. Like, we're big underdogs. I think they're going to play a little bit looser. Um, and they also, I think the fact that we played them before and played pretty competitively compared to the other top teams that we've played, I think that'll give them the confidence that, like, maybe, like, we could do this. And I think if they could just like keep it close within striking distance, I think it's going to be a big advantage for us, and I think we could
Yeah, that's
pull
how
it.
it goes. Listen, when you're the underdog, the longer you stay in striking distance, the more the pressure shifts,
For sure.
right? The more the pressure shifts, as the team that can't shake you, right? And they start to wonder why they can, and all those things that happen. I think that's obviously a big part. We've seen, as we saw in the first time they played Tufts, right? We've seen a lot of teams with fast starts, right? Against YU, we're finishing the half double-digit leads, especially that top level of competition, and YU really pushing, clawing its way back. I think YU prides itself on, we pride ourselves being a team that can come back, which means they're never out of it. But against some of these teams, those 14-point hole is maybe too big, right? So, what do you expect in terms of a little bit of that fast start?
That's gonna be tough. I think that's gonna be the big question. Like, could they keep it within 10 in the first half? Like, that's I think they need to do. Like, I don't know. Like, it's possible. Look, we could get blown out. Like, it's very possible. It's happened this year. This team is not perfect. I think, as great as last game was, and they've had great moments. So back to Mount Union, like, they've had struggles with being consistent, and it's very possible like that'll happen again because Tufts is a really good team, and they could exploit those issues. So, look, I think they could. They could pull, like they could definitely pull it off. I think it's feeling a lot more like definitely a different compared to like this is the fourth tournament we've been in. I guess the last one was when we were like, Ryan, Gabe, we were like big favorites, not favorites, but like against
No,
Hopkins, we were like,
Hopkins was expected to be a good matchup, and it turned
yeah,
into a
exactly.
really
Right.
good
But
game.
like we thought we should win. Like, that was here. It's like, I don't know if we should win, but I think we can win. Like, I really think we can. Kind of like it did against like WPI, I think, and even against York, where it was like, I think we should have won that game. I think, honestly, if we had um bar playing. But
They talk about the playoffs as being right a new season, and sometimes it really plays out like that. And I think both teams. I mean, I think you have to stand like Tufts is also has gotten better right since the last time we saw them, and I think both teams are really playing their best basketball of the season. Health is definitely a concern, as we've seen with Max. We really need Max to be almost as much for defense or much for offense as for defense, whichever way, because he is probably our best on-ball defender. and to slow down some of the attack, right? A big part I noticed people are looking for, as there was last game. Yeah, they hit some threes, but really the guy that all going to get all the attention, and rightfully so, is going to be a 6'10" uh, Jewish player who's not on YU. It's going to be Mr. Bernstein out there. Um, but again, you have to get him the ball, right? So part of the defense is on him, and part of it is on shutting down those angles, right? Limiting the ways in which they can get him the ball in good position will really also help the defense adjust. So he had 20, I believe, the last time
He had
we
20.
played.
He had his best game of the year against us. So like it's possible like he might not have as good a game. Like you know maybe him coming to YU maybe his extra motivation whatever it is. But like he had his best game. Obviously we're not known for stopping bigs. That's part of it probably also. But he might not have him. He's not averaging 20 and 10 the whole year. Like it's much less than that. So that was definitely his best game. We could start like we I think Luke's been very good defensively lately, especially, and he's not gonna. I'm sure he's gonna put up his points and get a lot of offensive rebounds, but like just gotta manage it and probably send a few doubles strategically. Like I think we did that a few times. I just watched the previous game. We did it a few times against him. We got a couple of steals from that, or bad shots off that. Um, so like he's gonna be definitely a big presence and a big X factor, but if he gets into foul trouble, or maybe he just isn't having as good a game as he had
That's
last time.
that's the
Like it's
beautiful thing in a one game scenario, right? Like some of these things affect. I think we have to look at it both ways, also, right? We have to make sure to play smart, right? Not just let the adrenaline flow and play hard, because again, you do get in foul trouble, and you can really take yourselves out of the game, take yourselves out of the rotation. YU is definitely, from the stats in the season, is definitely more, I would say, starter dependent, right? It's more starting five, top heavy, in the lineup and who they count on. So the game, I think it was an 82-74 game. I do expect a little bit more defense to be played. I expect a game, though, that's going to be in the high 60s, 70s, and depending on how it goes, again, it could be a game where there's a lot of shooting. If there's a lot of shooting and makes, like there was first half, second half last time, Zevi had a great game last
he
time.
had his one of I think he had one of the most efficient games. Yeah, they couldn't stop. Like that's the thing. Like that's what gives me like hope. Like they just really struggled to stop Zet. Like they couldn't really stop him. He was really efficient. And they were hitting their shots, or like they hit a ton of threes in the first half. A lot of it against the zone. So I assume they're not going to play that, but you never know.
That's gonna be interesting. I think the defensive choices are gonna be really important. And but again, the right guys. It's been who's in a rotation, right? Is it going to be a shorter rotation? I really think that's why I'm a big fan, um, of the way Elliott coaches. His coaching is very much tied to his faith in his players, and so he
Sure.
doesn't get too different in the game. You saw that even in the championship game, right? He it wasn't like, oh, we got two fouls on Zevi, I'm going to keep him in because I'm worried, right? Even down 14, he didn't throw him back in the game, right? There was no panic, right? And I think that's a really really important thing to have. And the coaching staff, looking forward to what their game plan is this time out. I'm excited. It's a one. Hopefully, it's one of the most tuned in games in there are no other games. I think the first other games
No,
start
it's
towards
the
the
best
end of the
part.
game. So we'll see around 3:15. So it's the first game of the session
Yeah, I love
because of
it.
the
It's
special
tradition.
special.
It's a
Yeah,
tradition. Like the Iowa caucus starts the elections, and
exactly.
YU
We're in New
starts
Hampshire. We're midnight, right? You gotta focus on
right.
YU,
So
and that's
YU, we start the tournament. It's nice. It's like it's the way it's supposed to be. I feel like it's good. Like when we're in the tournament, we have our crazy fans on Twitter making most ridiculous claims, bothering Bob or whatever. Like that's the way it's supposed to be. I
I
feel like
expect it. I expect it, and I think I mean, and Zevi obviously had fans before, and I think he has even more fans outside now. People who understand the kind of ball he really great conversations and really into what he was thinking, and it's really that's what he is, right? What he says and what he shows is what he is. I think there's so much to be proud of in this day and age, right? Where we're walking around looking for opportunities to be proud Jews, right? And sort of speak up and represent. And I think this is another example of that sort of Kiddush Hashem, that sort of like sanctification that just happens, and it can happen through anything, right? You can take anything and do that. So I'm incredibly excited. I want to see what the gym is going to look like. Boston is a it's not, it's not a New York or an LA, but it's a sizable Jewish community, with a lot of good schools, a lot of teenagers, a lot of people out, and a lot of people in college. So I'm hoping on a Friday afternoon, um, we can
I
get
think
uh, we can get we
I
can
think
get
we'll
some
get a good
show.
crowd. I think we'll get a good crowd. Obviously you're gonna be there, so yeah, you have to lead the you have to be the Mama Terrell of the
Exactly.
crowd.
We will.
That's
That's fair. That's a great reference. We'll be the Mama Trail. We got to. Maybe I should announce that there's like a kiddish at halftime or something. We'll sponsor a kiddish and get more people out there. But it's really Boston is a great sports town in general, and I expect it to be a great sports town for the Max. This, or what are we now? We're about I don't know, 15 hours less, 14 and a half hours away. It should be excited. I want to make sure you get home to it. Please don't get stuck at work, overnight.
all the time.
Want to make sure
Don't worry about it.
you get
I
home.
blocked I blocked off my calendar tomorrow. It'll be good.
It's gonna
Uh,
be. I think it's gonna be awesome. So feel free to text about the mood. I try. It's funny. I'm very sensitive to the chat, especially other people watching and the delay. So I try to sometimes I'd love to be in the conversation, but I also can't be in the chat because
it's hard. I
the
couldn't do it. I
spoilers
couldn't.
the
It's too
spoilers
hard.
kill
Yeah.
me, right? The spoilers are just killers. So I just try to watch the game and then see, and then we get timeouts. And okay, I know I have a couple of minutes to catch up on the chat, but it's gonna be, I think, just
It's
honestly
exciting.
just
It's
incredible to
exciting.
watch.
It's exciting. Like I don't know if they're gonna win, but it's exciting. And I think they have a chance. I really do. Like there's a lot of things that if their bigs get into foul trouble, if they're not shooting well, if Zevi goes off, like any of those things happen, we have a good chance. Like why not? Why
Yeah,
not
I have
us?
I have YU surprising them, and what's interesting this year, which will be different because I remember all the stories, right? The year that they, the Sweet 16 year that got cut short for COVID, right? The whole conversation about Friday and then not knowing, right? Who won the second game? Who were they going
That
to
was the
play? I wonder what's going to happen this year if and when YU does win. The next game's at 4:05, right? So there is a little bit of time, and
you'll
there's
know who's winning. Yeah, you'll know who's winning. Yeah.
you'll sort of get to see it. Although there is a very even matchup in the next game,
That
so it's
was that was a whole
we
yeah.
always seem to be in the talked about pot. It's very
I know.
interesting.
I don't
I
know. The
watch
same thing
Hoopsville.
happened
I
with
watch all
John.
this thing. I
It,
don't know
it,
why, but we always seem to be in the controversy.
I don't understand. Yeah, it's yeah. Thank God this year. I think there's no like actual controversy. I think we still have some time before the game, but like no ineligible players,
Right?
kicked out,
We gotta
no
wait to
getting
see.
no getting kicked out of the hotel the night before. Hopefully just like a normal, let's play basketball
This is
and
easy. I know they've been there now for a little while, so
right.
hopefully they've settled. They've gotten their practice in. Everything works out. We know we're going to get poppers. We know he's going to wear shorts. Like we know what's going to happen. I don't know if we'll have sideline suits in the NCAA tournament. I hope we do.
I would yeah,
I'm
I
excited.
faith
I'm
in him.
excited to see the kids. I'm excited to see the adults. I know the crowd. Listen, I know they're going to have a great Shabbos, either way. So again, I just kudos to the team for reaching this point. It is. You're absolutely right. It is exciting no matter what. There's no, you know, nitpicking anything. It's been a very strong season. Honestly, with very few um, letdowns. The Sarah Lawrence games. I always keep thinking.
It's been the most exciting see like there's been a great like for better or for worse, like they've had some games where yeah it should not have been like St. Joe's Brooklyn and Manhattanville should not have been going to overtime, but there's been a lot of exciting games and I think that'll actually be an advantage. Like we've had a lot of tight games compared
They're
and
not phased. They're not going to be phased.
they're not gonna be phased and Tufts has not had they've had one game they won within five and then one game they won in overtime against Bates I think so like they're not that's why I say if it gets close at the end, I think we're I think the more ready team for such a situation where
What I
we
like to
can
see is, again, we talk about this a lot in basketball. And I'm going to be looking at this definitely as we open up, right? Like, I want to see what happens in the first 3 minutes, and I want to see what happens in the last 3 minutes of each of the half, right? In the
yeah
games, first 3 minutes, last 3 minutes. Again, that's where you can set the tone. That's where you can make sure you don't get into trouble. So we're excited for it. I'm excited to be talking Max basketball again out here. Hopefully, the fans will have something to do on their drive down to Boston. They can listen in. But Ariel, it's an absolute pleasure.
a pleasure
The rest of the family have an amazing Shabbos, and I'm sure we'll be on the
for
chat
sure.
tomorrow. X's and O's and talking about what's going on with all the other guys that are there. But go Max. We
Go
can't wish
Max.
them well enough, and it's gonna be really incredible. I got to figure out I'm definitely gonna be wearing the Other Madness shirt. I just got to figure out what the what the rest of the wardrobe looks like. But
Face paint, yeah, you
exactly,
gotta
we'll
figure
pack
it
it
out.
up. We got to go. We got the Israeli flags going. It's going to be awesome. Enjoy the
Enjoy.
game, and we'll talk, and we'll be able to again talk about a great season, no matter when it comes to a close. But hopefully not tomorrow.
Amen. Amen. Go
Have a good
Max.
night.
Good night.